All right. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for joining me today for a LinkedIn session, lunch and learn that we kind of did at I can't even remember, a few weeks ago, a few months ago, don't remember. And we had ran into technical difficulties
We
at your
did.
end.
Yes, yes, certainly. I'm not sure what was going on with the internet between Australia and New Zealand, but it wasn't working on my end, that's for sure.
You're too far away. So I
Yeah.
thought we'll redo this one, but on Zoom recording. It'll be a lot easier. I can cut things out if need be. If I say the wrong thing, I'll edit it out. If I drop an F-bomb, I'll edit that out. So just want to make sure
All good.
we're on track. So anyway, let's go back to the topic of transforming finance and the power of data. That was the original topic. But again, sorry to rehash, but let's do a bit of a
No.
self-introduction. Want to hear about your career journey and what you're doing now. And I have a very significant question that I will ask you after your self-intro. That's really bugging me for all this time that you've been in your current role. So I'll ask that at the end of your self-intro.
Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome to this lunch and learn. I'm Matthew Clews. I'm a qualified CA. Um, I've been doing finance and finance roles for a long part of my career. I've been very fortunate to work for some amazing FMCG businesses. And if I take a step back and go, well, where did I start? I started in CA because you got to learn your trade. And so that was really important. So I spent quite a bit of time learning in CA, got into commercial, and then realized, well, I don't want to do timesheets for the rest of my life. So this is great, first and foremost. But I love commercial. I love businesses and watching and having a bit more influence and seeing what I could do. I've been really lucky in my career in the roles that I've been able to get, and the experiences I have received along the way. And I've dipped my toe in general manager roles two or three times. I'm in a role at the moment, which I'm thoroughly loving and enjoying. It's in a very small, medium-sized enterprise in New Zealand. We support in-store activations, and my background is a lot of FMCG, so I kind of get it and understand the retailers. It can be a struggle at times.
Yes.
And part of my role is enabling my team to be able to support our clients to the best execution we can,
Yes.
while trying to find new business. And the best thing about coming into this business is that all the experiences that I've had along the way, working for corporates and bigger organizations, I can get to choose and pick the real great things that
Mm,
I can hopefully help embed within this business
yes.
to make this a real great place to work and make the culture amazing. And we've seen a little bit of that over the past 12 months since I've been
Yes.
here. And I can see that in the engagement surveys. So there's still, we're at a level, but there's still a long way to go. And, there's lots of things I want to be able to do. But anyhow,
Oh,
long-winded story, that's me.
oh no, great. And I love the fact that you utilize your CA and that experience from accounting and transitioned yourself into general manager. I think that's really a lot of the coachees I come across. They're now starting to think, I don't really want to be a CFO. I really enjoy working with business partners. How do I transition myself from a accounting role into a general management role? And in fact, funny enough, I've had come across other sort of professions such as ops or marketing and sales professionals who also want to transition into that kind of general manager role. So it's quite interesting. So I guess let me ask that significant question. Who does it stand for anything? I've searched high and low. HOOP, does it stand for
Yep.
anything?
Great question. No, it doesn't. But I think
Okay.
the ethos is basically because hoop is a round circle.
Yeah.
And we like to see that our business is fully supporting our clients. And if I
Ah,
talk about our core business is merchandising, so
yes.
stacking shelves, doing relays, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But in the background, we have a warehouse where we hold all the point of sale for our clients. And
Yeah.
so when activations come up, we can send it out and be as cost effective and as efficient as possible.
Ah,
We
yeah.
also have a rework co-packing line. So when clients bring in finished goods from overseas, they need New Zealand specific
Yes.
packaging and,
Labels.
and
Yeah.
labels and all that kind
Compliant.
of stuff. We
Mm.
can do that. We can build towers and stuff like that. So for us, we look to support as much as we can,
Yeah.
in that kind of circle, I suppose, kind of
Oh.
thing with regards to supporting clients. And there's lots of other things we would like to do.
Yeah.
But at the moment, that's probably our core. There's always
Yeah.
sales and can we set up a field sales team? And we
Yeah.
have those discussions all the time. But yeah, that's kind of, I suppose
Yeah.
that's holistically how and or what Hoop stands for.
Oh, sorry, it's been bugging me. Every time I look at your profile, I'm like, I've got to ask Matt one day. It doesn't stand for anything. So I'm glad you explained it, the big questions in this world. So sorry,
Absolutely.
digressing, going back to that sort of data then. So over the years, especially with your transition from finance into general management and running even Red Bull, your, prolific experience there, as well as, going into PepsiCo, how do you think finance has transformed over time, especially with just the amount of data, and we know this ourselves, it's overwhelming and can be underwhelming at times. What's your opinion?
Absolutely. Oh, wow, data. And I remember our time at Pepsi when they were talking data lakes and pulling all this information together. And I always struggled with, well, how are you going to get your finance data, your operational data?
Yes.
You've got this other market share
Yeah.
data. You've got specific consumer data. How are you going
Yeah.
to overlay all that and be able to combine it together?
Yeah.
I still don't think I've got the answer to that, but with regards finance, it's been, I suppose, it's quite a transition. You go
Mm,
from accounting, and
yeah.
everybody learns accounting and sees you as an accountant and calls you an
Yes.
accountant, and that
Yeah.
frustrates the heck out of me. But anyhow, especially when
Well,
my
being
mother calls me
counter.
an accountant. Yeah, 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 totally, totally. But we've gone from accounting to finance, and
Yes.
so that's great. That's a really good transition because
Yeah.
finance is a real partner and
Yes.
really, intertwined within the business versus
Yes.
pure accounting, which is
Yeah.
just technical, just seen as the pain in the ass, to be honest with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Holding up payments to suppliers,
Yes.
calling customers about money, all that kind of thing. It's the seen as the non-value add, but I can tell you
Yeah.
if that doesn't operate, and we'll get to that point
Yeah.
in a second,
Yeah.
you've got other problems. So we've transitioned from accounting to more business partners in
Yes.
finance, which is great.
Yes.
But along that, we've actually transitioned from cash
Yes.
to data. So
Yeah.
we've always said that cash is king, but
Yes.
in fact, we've now transitioning
Yes.
to data being the new oil, as everyone
Yeah.
says.
Yeah.
But how important data is, and
Yes.
and I see that at the moment where I am because we're a business that are out in the field.
Mm.
We see what's going on in store and we're the eyes and ears of all
Yeah.
of our clients. We've got to be able to collate that data,
Mm.
get that data, collate it for our clients, and be able to share it with them in the in the best way, so they can
Yes.
interpret findings or what's going on out there or issues as quick as possible without just giving them a data dump
Yeah.
and going fill your boots. You go and find the insights out of that.
Yeah.
Which is, it's easy. I say it's easy, but it's not easy kind of thing.
Yeah.
So ourselves, you know, we like to think we're a little bit more ahead of the curve than some of the
Yeah.
businesses. And, I
Yes.
know some of the businesses don't have any reporting.
Yeah. Right.
We've got a great tool, but we've moved pretty quickly now into the Power BI data analytics.
Mhm.
We've
Yeah.
hired somebody straight out of university who worked through us
Yeah.
through
Wow.
an internship.
Yes.
Um, and they have been creating the Power BI reports that our clients are looking for. We've
Yes.
come up with a suite of reports um, that will enable our clients to see trends, to see
Yes.
actual results, and be able to pick out the key things that they want and be able to drill down if they need to, kind of thing. So
Right.
that's really interesting to see how, and that's just, I suppose, from a pure business and operational
Mm.
side of things. But if you then overlay your sales data
Yeah.
on that, and you see, we collect a lot of data on out of stocks.
Yeah.
So there you go. Okay, well, if I'm out of stock, what is
Yeah.
the impact of me? And
Yes.
and I've just connected with another business that gets all of the stock on hand data from our retailers, from our
Yeah.
grocery retailers.
Hmm.
God knows how they get this data, but anyhow, but we can get that data from them, and
Yeah.
we can overlay that for our clients and go, you're out of stock on this week, and that's reconfirmed by the stock on hand reports that we get um, from the retailers.
Yeah.
And by the way, your rate of sale is this amount, and this is the amount of sales that you've missed out on. Now,
Great.
it's all
Wow.
it's all theoretical.
And
Absolutely,
possibly directional, right? Because yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But if that constantly happens, and we'll
Yeah.
get the data by store,
Yeah.
you'll be able to go, okay, this is my problem store,
Yes.
and that's when the data becomes more,
Powerful. Yeah,
absolutely, more
absolutely.
powerful.
And so,
So,
in terms of data quality, how confident are you so far based on what you've seen that data source come in? Because, as you know, data in, garbage out. So, as much as, Power BI is the tool and the enabler, if the quality of that data is crappy, then obviously what you spit out could be directionally wrong. Do you know what I mean? Going down a path.
yeah. Look, we've had to spend a lot of time standardizing our questions
Yes.
first and foremost,
Mm,
because if you don't have the same question
yeah.
and collecting the same data per client, then it's really hard to compare. Because
Mm,
ultimately, what we want to be able to do is compare clients,
yeah.
and not so you know who you're getting compared against, but just at least to see the trend. So,
Yes.
for example, if client A is has 20% out of stocks week
Yeah.
in, week out, it's really consistent, and in fact, it's starting to grow. But
Yeah.
yet, every other client, and it'll just be a capture of all the others, the rest of our clients are only out of stock 10% or 5% of the time. Well, they go, we've
Yes.
got a real problem. But
Yeah.
is it, or if it's above, well, okay, we're below the average, but we still want to work on it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
no, that's great.
and that's where the you're right, get garbage in, garbage out. And we're out there. We have 350 people across the country.
Wow.
They're part-time people. And
Yeah.
they do an amazing job. But
Yes.
it's, and we have a team back in the office who then go through the data capture just to,
Yes.
to ensure that the accuracy is there, and if we've got any questions, we can ask those questions.
Yeah, great. So when you've rolled this out, is this relatively new, right? So now how have you enabled the workforce to get trained up and to really understand what they're capturing? Because again, I think as great as technology, data, etc., if the person inputting it doesn't really know what they're doing or sense checking it and provide some sort of thinking on top of that data, then again, it's going to be quite useless if they're capturing the wrong thing or just don't understand it. So how have you kind of, when you implemented this process and the tools, how have you kind of gone out there, sell it to them for the benefit of the greater good? Because again, it's part of change management, isn't it? Because from my experience, people often are reluctant to change. And
Yep.
therefore, I'm just thinking from a humanistic point of view, how have you gone and rolled out this thing? Because it's only going to come with more stuff and more data and more tools.
Yeah. No, it's a great question. And to be honest, this is something the business has been doing for a long period of time
You're right.
in different shapes or forms. So
Yes.
now, we moved to a new system in April last year,
Mm.
April
Yep.
23. And so therefore the way they capture data, everyone has a tablet.
Yep.
It's all electronic. You complete it, submit, comes through to head office. Head office checks the quality, and it goes off to the client. The client gets to see it live.
Yeah.
Um,
Great.
the important part is making sure the brief. So
Mm.
you go back to the start of the process, because I've missed all that, and it's the training, and it's the
Yeah.
education, and it's telling our team what to do. So we have a brief that gets completed, aligned
Yeah.
with clients, has all of this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
You can get a paper copy. Some people like a paper copy, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's easier in store to be able to do that
Yeah.
versus try and read it on your tablet, as well as an electronic version.
Yeah.
Now, now that hopefully gives them the most information that they need. And if they've got any questions, we have a support team back in the office that they'll be ringing on a regular basis, not really clear on what this is, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And that will help them while they're doing the call to get things done. Not to say
Yeah. That's a good
everything's always
point.
perfect.
Yeah.
There is we have area managers who support them.
Mm.
So
Yes.
you need to have the support structures. And yeah, and then if there are people that still need further training, then we can always do some on the ground training.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So from your own point of view, Matt, given that you've got that strong accounting background, the data analytics, and now general management, managing your workforce, how are you connecting all that data? Are you feeling overwhelmed? There's just so much. Now you've got it down to, a really granular level. How are you sort of scaling up and down, as a general manager?
Well, there's a couple of aspects there because there's
Mm.
our own internal data um,
Yes.
that we use to manage the business and manage our KPIs and
Yes.
report against. So it's just focusing on some of the core stuff, some of the core things that we do in the field, and you
Yeah.
know, first and foremost, are we getting there? If we're not, what's the issue? And that
Yeah.
kind of thing. We have a really great training tool
Yeah.
um, that captures all the trainings, so we know people have done it. It's not just watch a video and
Yeah.
it's over. There are questions involved to make sure that people are actually listening to the training and get through the training with
Yeah.
passing all the tests. But then there is the client data, and it's kind of every client's different, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, and we're probably we're we're starting out.
Yes.
We've created all the dashboards. We're working through with a number of our clients on that, and their wants and needs vary. So we have a
Yeah.
master, obviously, but then there is other clients that want something different. And so it's working with
Right.
clients to understand their wants and needs and what's important to them, because that may not be important to another client out there.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's working on those, what are the important things,
Yes.
and then really hone it down so that they're not getting all this data that they don't even need.
Yeah. Great. And the way you've built these dashboards are also, I'm assuming, with your internal grad, they're making sure that it's quite flexible so you can change it on the go based on different and evolving needs of the clients. Is that how you guys have built these suite of reports?
Yes, yeah, very
Yeah.
much so. But again, it comes back to the data in. So
Mm.
we have to stick with standard
Yeah.
questions
So that's gonna be
and
cool. Yeah.
making them as standard as possible. Some will be slightly different. Every client's slightly different, but if we can keep them all as standard as possible, that makes the reporting so much simpler.
Yeah.
But obviously there are specific things, so you need to tailor them. And I think we're certainly agile enough to be able to make those changes.
Right. And what's been the client's feedback so far, generally speaking?
Oh, look, we've had a couple of clients. One who helped actually us to build this. Was really
Yeah.
impressed with what they're getting now, and that they're starting to use these dashboards as their master reporting
Oh, wow.
versus
Yeah.
having to create other reports
Yeah,
to try.
themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And these are, they're able to use this data to be able to have discussions with retailers now.
Yeah.
So, so,
Fantastic.
so that's really great.
Yeah, and I'm just curious also because you mentioned a little bit about having it at even category insights. So you also it's dynamic enough where you can break it down by client and then the categories they're in. So for example, beauty products or health and beauty, would you be able in your system be able just to look at that category trend, what's been out of stock, what are some of the products that's been, going really well within that category? Can you look at it from that point of view?
Possibly that's probably the next steps and the
Yeah,
future steps, but ultimately you don't often you'll have only a handful or one in a certain
yeah,
category. So you're
yeah.
not going to get many insights looking at it that way, and ultimately it's more the trends of
Yes.
how's everybody else faring.
Mm.
Okay,
Yes.
we're there or thereabouts with everyone else. Not to say that it's good or bad,
Yeah.
but ultimately, how's that looking?
Yeah. And by region, by location as well, would you slice it and dice it by location?
Oh yes, yeah. So, no, certainly from we do this more from a grocery perspective.
Yes.
So, and we have all the different ways clients look at the structure of our retailers.
And how are you using this data now connecting it back to the business strategy and also, your financial planning processes, such as your 5-year plan or your budgeting, forecasting? Obviously, this is your existing business. You've got new business on top in the pipeline. So how are you using this data to actually connect it back to your own internal financial processes?
I'm probably looking at other internal data. So
Mm.
that's, you know, it's great that we've been able to set these things up for clients, and now we'll
Yeah.
be able to set the same things up for internal reports. And so that, we have a real great system that we use, but you know, it's always good to have that data in an easier way. And Power
Yeah.
BI is amazing. So
Yeah.
to be able to create those reports, how are those trends going? I can then look at things by clients and 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 that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's split out, for us, it's what we do in store. So, how many calls, how many hours,
Yeah.
how is out there, how's that looking, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, great. And so has it changed any of the sales call out process or infill processes at all with this information?
I think it just allows, so we have a team that look after each of our clients. So
Yeah.
the way we're structured, we have a team is the first port of call for our clients.
Yeah.
It just starts to give them reports that they can look at, and be able to, have discussions with clients. And we have
Yeah.
regular monthly, quarterly, 6 monthly, annual meetings with them to review performance and things we're seeing out in the market. So
Yeah.
it just enables, rather than having to spend loads of time creating some of these
Yeah.
reports, you're able to use the same reports that
Yes.
that are on live dashboards. Now, not everyone's using them, but they're on live dashboards, and you don't have to then go and spend all the time creating them. You can
Yeah.
spend more time in the numbers. And I
Yeah.
think that's when we go back to what I was talking about before, going from cash to data.
Yeah.
You know, data's king. We now have more time to be able to analyze it, and that's really
Yeah.
important
Because you're not
because
collating it. Yeah.
absolutely. The amount of time, and I'm sure in your career, Alice, the amount of time we've spent in spreadsheets, building spreadsheets, having checks at the bottom. Oh, there's this total doesn't agree with that total
Yeah.
over there. And then you go and spend half a day trying to fix that.
Yeah.
And then you don't have any time to analyze, and you've got to have something for a presentation for tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
for the executive team. And you're then working through till 10 to get that.
Absolutely. I start fudging numbers. Oh, it doesn't balance. I'll just chuck it in here. No one will notice. That's where I get to by the end of at about 12 midnight, where you're a bit delirious from the long day. But also, I think my experience is certainly Salesforce, if I is closely related to infield or a CRM, is my experience with Salesforce from a finance perspective. Again, I'm relying on my sales team to really input that data. I'm looking at the pipeline. So this is for a medical business I work for, and I'm constantly reviewing the pipeline with the teams to try and project out what am I putting in the budget? What am I forecasting in terms of new business? What's the win-loss ratio? All those things. And it's a tender-based business. So if you don't win that tender, you're locked out for 5 years, that type of environment. And so it's a constant battle because obviously people get judged on that information, what they put into the CRM. So when I'm
Sure.
running the pipeline and I'm looking at the different stages and I'm like, there's no way you're going to have $150 million in the pipeline and only 5% fall out, because then, it's just really hard to justify a whole sales team. And so I'm constantly wasting time and energy with the sales team having those conversations rather than really going out there and focusing on the accuracy or the relevance of the information to then go get the business. And so that's why my experience is garbage in, garbage out. And I understand, because it's all, you're incentivized on a certain pipeline, then your, win ratio and etc. So um, maybe if you can talk a little bit about how do you guys incentivize the sales team and the infield team when they're activating? What kind of incentives that's tied to that data so it drives the right behavior?
It's yeah, it's a little different, I suppose, in our
Mm,
business.
mm,
So we have less, we don't have any sales team,
yeah.
and it's just out in there. So, I suppose I'm just trying to think of another business that I've worked in. I think ultimately most of the FMCG businesses that I've worked
Mm,
in, similar to yourself, it's all been linked back to bottom line and more personal
yeah.
KPIs. And it was probably back in those days um, less highlighted, I suppose,
Mm,
as a specific KPI,
yeah.
to be able to incentivize and things like that. So, because everyone was using spreadsheets and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it then came down to someone will pick up in your presentation and you'll look like an idiot because,
Yeah.
and that's a real shame because you've
Yeah.
spent all this time on a presentation, but yet there was some data that you got from somewhere. And and we've all done it. We've all pulled
Yeah.
data from a source going, oh yeah, that's the right source, and it's a totally wrong source.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that one's a little bit hard to answer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
and
I
that one's
understand. It's probably not exactly the same because you're activating. You're not actually, your team is not out there selling per se, like
yeah,
a
no.
typical sales team. So I guess my very last question, I know I've got to let you go, is more around what do you think is the next stage in your business in terms of transforming data, leveraging these Power BIs, and how do you what's your sort of business growth strategy and how would you underpin some of what you've done in terms of the data space to scale that growth?
Okay, well, do you want me to give
Have I
away
got all day?
well, I don't know. Do you want to give us to give away all of my secrets? I'm not really sure.
No, no, no. High
No,
level, high
I'm only
level.
joking. I'm only joking. Look, data will be really, really big.
Yeah,
And I think if we're not focusing on that, I think the how we utilize AI um,
mm,
to make it more efficient, so that we can put out the insights faster for people.
yes,
And so we're not spending the time going through all the data ourselves will be key.
yeah,
So that's why we had to have someone
yeah,
from a data
to help.
perspective,
Yeah,
to help build those kind of insights and reports. So that will really be key. And we're doing some work with one of our biggest clients at the moment, and they're very impressed with the tool that we've showed them,
yeah,
and
fantastic.
they've just said, "Wow, you're going to be pivoting your business to be, all around data," and ultimately that's what clients want. Yes, our core service and everything else that we do,
Yeah,
um, will continue. But the better we can get at providing those insights to our clients is when, the how we will grow, to be quite honest with you. Um,
yeah,
that will be that point of difference. I think you'll find there's a lot of people that probably do it. There's probably some,
yeah,
or sorry, say they do it. There's probably some that don't,
yeah,
really, and to all differing degrees. So it's really, how we will grow is how we add value to our clients,
yeah,
um, and ensure that they have the best chance of selling on shelf.
yeah,
And part of that will be service, and
yes,
part of that will be data and helping them
yeah,
get the best insights to be as efficient in store as possible. And find out, all that point of sale that's thrown away by retailers.
yeah,
What's the value of that,
yes,
and other things like that. But other things that probably don't even consider. There's loads of those, and just finding those additional things that will
yeah.
provide those insights for our clients, because that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that could be another massive revenue stream for you. You never know. Just arms and legs for your clients in terms of data analytics, and you start building out a team of analysts. That would be awesome.
Well, so that
You
yeah,
never know.
No, look, you never know, but it will also, ultimately, if you can overlay data,
Yeah.
and it then adds to our data, then that would be great. But
Yeah.
it's just overlaying the right data to give you an insight linked to the data we have.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, so that's kind
Yeah.
of so
Yeah, no, good answer.
there is the core stuff, and we will
Mm,
continue to grow the core
yeah.
side of our business, because that's really important, and as the what we have here is a quite a different, quite change in the playing field for
Yeah.
retailers, especially in grocery. So things change, and the requirements of what happens in store changes at the same
Yeah.
time. So we have to change with it.
Yeah.
It's the cold hard reality.
Yeah.
But then adding those extra things that the clients want or need, and that's kind of why we do all the different things we do, because that's what our clients want or need to be able to
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah.
And it's identifying those things in the future. What's the
Yeah.
next one?
Yeah.
Um, and
And
go
do
from
that
there.
thinking for
Yeah,
them. No, that's
totally.
great. So my last closing question, could I
Ooh,
tie it all back to the beginning of the conversation where I
okay.
asked sort of pointed out that your transition from accounting to GM. So for those who aspire to go into general management, what are some of the key skills that people should start to look to build in order to move into general management?
Wow. Great question. Great question. And I'm sure my answer won't be the
I'm
one for
sure it'll be
everyone.
fun.
Um, but for me, the most important thing was developing those relationships,
Mm,
because if I don't have those relationships, whether, I can't then get the respect of the people that I'm going to manage, because often you'll find someone will get promoted from within to that role. And
yes.
if you're not respected across your peers, that
Yeah.
step becomes harder for you.
Yes.
Um, and so therefore, I've always spent a lot of time, a little bit like yourself,
Yeah.
getting to know the people you're working with across all the different
Yes.
functions.
Yeah.
Finance, is lucky that they're across all the different
Yeah.
functions, and so has that, I suppose, that insight to the
Yeah.
kind of the whole business. But it doesn't stop people from, because traditionally it's sales and marketing, and
Yeah,
they move on,
correct.
and I kind
Yes.
of get it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop operation. Some businesses are more operationally focused, and so
Yes.
therefore those will be the people who will want to move forward. Um,
Yeah.
so that's probably one of the key things. And I do remember when I moved into my first one,
Yeah.
someone said to me that I'll spend 70% of my time on people. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
wow, really? And you do. Ultimately, you have a team,
Yes.
and a very wide team, and so you need to make sure everyone's engaged, because
Yeah.
and that's your job. You
Yeah.
have to, everyone's got the right resources that they need. Sometimes you can't always give everybody all the resources, as
Yeah.
and you have to make choices, but you need to have those good open discussions. And then
Yeah.
to be able to have those good open discussions, underpinning that's a good relationship,
Yeah.
so that they understand where you're coming from and the reasons why.
Yep. And finally, the numbers that helps
Oh, I think
being financially savvy.
very much so. I like to think we're less emotional,
Mm.
because we've relied on the data
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
facts for so long, that we try to stick to that. And therefore, it's not always the answer. And
Yeah.
sometimes you've got to do things that will cost more,
Yeah.
but it's the right thing to do for
Yes.
longer term growth, or for something within the business. You
Yes.
could be going through tough times, and there've been lots of change. It's been impacting everyone, and so therefore you decide to do something for the team,
Yeah.
um, to get the morale raised, or get the engagement back and stuff like that. And it's going to be a cost, but ultimately it's something you need to do,
Yeah. Definitely.
and you
And
can't,
yeah.
yeah, and you just can't forget people. People are, yeah, however much we have these great brands and brand
Yeah.
assets and things like that, it's the people underneath who make sure it
Yeah.
happens.
Uh, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think just from my little experience as not as senior as a general manager, but even being a commercial, senior commercial person in a startup where I was looking after everything except for marketing because we had a CMO, I think that grew me 100%, because number one, it was a bit outside finance because I was looking after finance, IT, customer service, ops in terms of the manufacturing and the supply chain part, plus admin and office admin. I, even did the rubbish dump, etc. Being a small business, you just had to do everything. And I think what I've learned in terms of, my version of general management is that leadership, you're absolutely right. The people connection is important because I'm not going to know everything. And so I have to build a team of experts around me to give me that advice. And that was probably the one lesson I learned is to hire and fire quickly, especially in a small business, because you can't afford to have people there who aren't in the right seats. And so that's one key lesson I learned. And the second thing is that financial commercial acumen was so important because to me, the P&L, gross sales. I know, and I'm simplifying it. I know people are going to hate me. It's either drive sales or cut costs, right? So, how do you drive sales along with marketing, but also optimizing your costs because you've only got so much money you can spend on. And so I think for me, that key learning in terms of my version of general management is connecting the people, connecting the business dots, but also managing your risk and opportunities and making very informed decision. Because when you're in a big corporate, and cash is not an issue at Pepsi. I mean, come on, we're cash to burn, right? In the good times during COVID. And so you're not worried about optimizing costs and you'll invest. Whereas in a small business, medium-sized business, every dollar counts because you think I've got to sell X amounts to get to get X in overheads. And you go, nah, that's too hard. Let's just save the cost because that goes straight to the bottom line. So they're kind of my key learnings anyway on a small scale. And now me in my own business, well, cost is everything, especially in this environment, and also hustling for sales. So anyway, thank you so much, Matthew. It's always a pleasure. And I know we definitely connect on, Green Lights, the book. I still remember every time I pick up that book, it reminds me of you.
Well, yeah, don't. I have been able to tie something back so I can show that video again today, but anyhow, maybe another time.
Yes, definitely. All right. Thank you
Cool.
so much, Matt. We'll talk soon.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been